When we bought the Osmo Pocket 3, we were probably attracted to the gimbal first, of course. That's what's going to get your attention. And also the 1-inch sensor so you can record it a really nice 4K. It's good quality. The imagery on this thing is fantastic. But what we probably weren't considering was what the sound was like. So the Osmo Pocket 3 took care of a lot of things with the sound. It has a lot of different microphones. We'll go over those here today, go over the microphones and show you how you can set up your Osmo Pocket 3 to get the best sound recording you can. There's a couple of ways we can set up the sound here in the Osmo Pocket 3. So I'm going to show you how I set that up, and we'll go over it step by step. Let's set up the Osmo Pocket 3 so we can get the best recording that we can. We slide from the right and we tap the Pro mode. And the Pro mode then lights up yellow and gives us a lot more details that we can work with. And generally, this is the screen that we're inside because we're dealing with exposure or white balance or something along those lines. So, but up here, you can faintly see it, but there's a little microphone up there. And on that microphone, now when we tap that, we have more options here. The first is channel. So we can go mono or stereo, depending on what you like. I generally leave this on stereo. You don't have to do it on mono because if you're only recording off of one microphone, that'll be just fine. The other option you have is wind reduction. That's over here. You can do wind noise reduction, and I usually like to leave that on because it helps. If wind's crossing over the microphone, it helps reduce that. The next one down is what microphone we're going to be recording from. We can tap front and back, or all. If you want to get environmental sounds, then you want to press all. But in this case, we're just going to have it on front or front and back if we're going to be recording myself and somebody else talking. And all is when we want all the microphones working. And I'll show you where all the microphones are on this thing. So we'll just leave it on front for right now. So in typical recording, we're going to be standing in front of the camera. And this is, of course, the back-facing camera. And we're recording off of this front microphone. And the sound is actually pretty decent. The problem is that if we ever have to move away from the camera, then our sound really falls off. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. Standing here, I'm a couple of feet away, but as I back up, I either have to shout or I'm gonna get drowned out by the other sounds that are in the environment. And I'm probably 6 or 8 feet away, and the sound probably isn't as good because it's coming from that front microphone. Okay, so now we're gonna set up the transmitter microphone. And this is, of course, we just turn that on. It automatically links with the Osmo Pocket 3. You can see where it tells you, hey, your transmitter microphone's on. That's the DJI Mic 2. And so we have to do a few setup things with that so we can get better results out of it. So let's slide over again and we go to microphone. And now you can see we have some different things to work with. We have the gain of the microphone. We can set that. I have it set at +1. And we have noise reduction that we can put on the microphone. And this is tapped right here down below. Transmitter noise reduction on if we like. So we're going to swipe down from the top and we'll go over to the lower left and hit the settings button. And the very first one that we come through is wireless mic. Let's tap on that. And we now have a bunch of options. So let's slide up and see what we have. We have monitor volume. If you tap on that, you can set your volume that you'd like. Well, I usually leave it on about 50. The next one is the LEDs. If you want the LEDs on, they're usually pretty handy to have on, but if you're in a dark place or if you're recording something that might attract somebody's attention, you may turn those off. And also you have the ability to turn it on vibrate or not. And the vibrate is just like on your phones. If you want to vibrate when you're getting a call, you're going to have that kind of a feeling that you know that it's on. So that's how that helps you when it's on. Auto to video sync. You always want to leave that on because you always want to synchronize it. You don't want to record this separately. You always want to synchronize it. And the next one down is the low cut filter. You always want to leave the low cut filter on because that's going to help with the sound in terms of taking out some of the deep hums of airplanes or air conditioners or that. One of the most important recording features on this microphone is the 32-bit recording. You need to have that on because that's going to give you a lot more dynamic range. Think of 32-bit recording if you're a still photographer when you went from JPEG to RAW because RAW has so much more depth in that image. Same happens with a 32-bit recording. With 32-bit recording, you get so much more depth. And so if you get high spikes, of loud sound, you'll still be able to record them and they're not going to be distorted. And here you can format the transmitter. And the reason you want to format the transmitter from time to time is because you have the ability to also record solidly right onto the transmitter. So the transmitter will record your sound separately. So you'll have an extra recording of that. So if you happen to go behind a tree or behind a building while you're recording, you'll be able to still go back and capture that sound. It's a really great feature in the microphone, being able to record separately into the microphone. But if you want to erase that, this is where you do it. You'll tap on here and you'll erase what's on the actual microphone. And of course, you only want to do that when you have already recorded and everything is all solidly stored away and saved. So up at the top, you can see the gain. We want to see that gain green line go across, and that's about how far you want it to go, about 75%. If we really got really loud, you can see how it'll spike a little bit, and we don't want to spike it at all. We want to keep it right about there. But if you're recording at 32-bit, I'll show you an example of that in a second, the spiking can be saved. So it's a great way to go. So one of the ways, it comes with this little clip back here that you can just clip on. It also has a magnet that is pretty powerful. So a couple of ways that we can set this up is we can easily just clip it right to our shirt, and then we can talk into it just like this, and it'll be recording from here. Another way is to reverse this, and we can put it behind, maybe using the magnet to hold it. We can put it behind so you're not looking at the big microphone sticking out, you only see the little magnet. So that's maybe a little more desirable. If you really want to ditch this thing, one of the things you can do is there's a little port on the front here, and all you have to do is plug in a lavalier mic, then ditch that somewhere and just keep this on your person, and that will work as the transmitter. So it works pretty good. And what it also does is it really works with a good distance away. So remember before when we were working with the front microphone and then we went too far away, the sound wasn't that great. This is how you solve that with this additional microphone. So let's go ahead and turn this on and hear how this sounds. So a couple things you want to think about when you're using this additional microphone is where you're going to place it. So a lot of times people think, oh, I'll just put it in my pocket. Well, think about this. If the microphone's recording over here and somebody turns their head to talk like this, it's not going to sound very good because you need to be over the microphone. So what most professionals do is they put it about the distance of from your chin to the extent of your finger. That's about how low you want this microphone. And it'll record everything. So when you clip it on like this, it's going to be recording sound out and around. And if you want to get a little closer type of a sound, you can obviously move it up. Some people have it up here. I think it's better right about the middle of your shirt, maybe right around the second button of your shirt is usually pretty good. You can also take this microphone, remove the magnet, which is pretty slick, put it underneath, and you can use your shirt to not only hide the microphone, but also works as some wind protection. I'm recording on the front microphone here. We're going to see if I get really loud, if that's going to be salvageable in post. So if I'm just talking normally, then I really get really loud, we'll see if that's something that can be recorded. But with this microphone, since it records in 32-bit, we're able to salvage that. All right, so I'm back on the transmitter mic, which is really your best choice for getting sound because you're not worrying about how close you are to the Osmo in terms of getting that sound off the front microphone. This is one of those deals where I can be any position where I want to be. It also helps that we can record in 32-bit on this microphone. So when we're recording in 32-bit, we have the ability to fix problems that happen during a recording. So we have this set as a standard gain right now for normal talking, right? But let's say we have to talk really loud and try to get this to spike. Well, when it does spike like that, we can maybe fix that and won't be distorted in post. The other thing that happens too is on the other end of that spectrum, you might have a situation where you have somebody who really talks really in a low volume, a real quiet talker. So let's try that. I'm going to talk in a real whisper here, and we'll see how this microphone sounds. Because I think normally, if you're really talking low, you're going to have to really boost the gain so much in order to hear it. All of the other sounds are going to come up with it. It's going to be hard to distinguish, but 32-bit might help us there too. We'll try that and see if it works. I'm going to talk in a real whisper here, and we'll see how this microphone sounds. because I think normally if you're really talking low, you're going to have to really boost the gain so much in order to hear it. All of the other sounds are going to come up with it. It's going to be hard to distinguish, but 32-bit might help us there too. We'll try that and see if it works. So having the transmitter microphone on when you're moving around is pretty good, because you don't have to really worry about how far away from the microphone. Maybe if you're extending the microphone out, it's not going to change, where the microphone sound is always going to be the same no matter where you're at. All right, so now I'm standing in front of the Osmo Pocket 3 and we're using the transmitter mic. But this is great, because this transmitter mic works a long distance away. So as long as you're not blocked out by buildings or something really solid, you can utilize this microphone in a lot of different ways. So let me walk down the trail a little bit and you'll hear how it sounds. So as I go, you can still hear that the sound is pretty good, even though I'm facing the wrong direction. I'm not facing anywhere towards the Osmo Pocket 3. You can still hear that it sounds pretty good. I'm about 40 yards away at this point, and you can see it still sounds really good because we're using the transmitter to record. And the microphone's always going to be the same distance away from my voice, which will make things sound really consistent. Let me go a little bit farther up the trail. Hopefully you'll be able to see me here, because God forbid you wouldn't want to not see me on a video. All right, so now I'm probably like 70 yards away, and it still sounds pretty good. These record up to 288 feet unobstructed. So we don't have any obstructions. We do have some forest, but it's not stopping the recording that we're doing right here on the microphone. So this transmitter mic works pretty swell. I'm a long distance away from the camera and it still sounds pretty good. As I walk closer, it doesn't really matter. The sound isn't going to change because the microphone is recording right off of my chest. It's right here, it's not changing. It doesn't have anything to do with my positioning with the microphone. I have the ability to record anybody moving around, which is fantastic. If you have a guest, this is a great thing to put on them and let them record into a really good sounding microphone. If you're in an unobstructed area, like if you don't have buildings or something like that blocking you, you can still hear pretty good. It sounds pretty decent, right? So again, I'm probably, oh, I don't know, I'd say maybe 15 feet away from the camera, and it still sounds really good because of the way this microphone is set up. It's going to record right here all the time. The sound isn't going to be different from here or here. So it's really great to have this kind of recording with us. Now, what's really fantastic about this microphone is that if you want to record with it, there's a button you can press on the side, and if you press it, it's going to also record internally. So if for some reason I stepped out of the way, went behind a tree or behind a building, I'm still going to be able to record this microphone on my person. And then I can go back later and use the computer to plug directly into this microphone and download that sound clip. Of course, you have to line it up. That's a little bit of a pain. But once you line it up, it sounds great. And so you're kind of covered. It's like a little backup. You've got the shooting that you're going to do right off of the microphone, and then you have the backup of what's recorded internally. So I always leave that on, and I'll show you how to turn that on too on the settings. So with the DJI transmitter mic, you have a couple of options to work with. The first option is you can record internally in this. And the way to record internally is by pressing this little button. That'll record internally. This little USB-C port is to allow you to get that information out of this microphone. So this also works as a storage device. So you're able to store your sound inside of this device when you're working with it remotely. So you can use it as a backup. So in case you fall out of transmitter range, it'll still work for you. On this side here is the power button. Up here is the link button. So when you're setting up to link your Osmo Pocket 3 to it, this will help you in pairing it with your particular unit. Up at the top, this is where the microphone is, and this is where the sound actually comes in. This is a port that you can actually use to put a lavalier mic into. So you don't have to have the big bulky thing sitting on your blouse or shirt. It's something where you can just plug it right in and then hide that microphone as a lavalier. That port also works as a tool to help you with your wind reduction. Your wind reduction comes with it, and this is just plugs right in here and helps reduce the sound that's crossing over the top of that microphone, and that works pretty well. On the back of the microphone, you have a magnet. The magnet has two colors. If you get more than one microphone, it's really great. You can have one microphone on one person facing one way and one on the other. That way you can have a difference in terms of, you can tell immediately who's got which microphone on. So this is pretty secure. It magnets right there, so it gives you the ability to magnetically put it right on your shirt. Okay, this is the front-facing microphone. You can see the little windscreen they have built in right there. On the side, there's another microphone. Up here at the top, a little hole. On the back or the front of the unit, there's another microphone hole right there. Microphone port, I should say. And then another microphone port right here. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 spots where the microphone works. This is the front-facing microphone. You can see that's quite a bit bigger than the other ones because this is the one you're going to use most of the time. Because if you're recording into the unit, this is the microphone that's going to work with it. And this is considered the front microphone when you're working with this microphone right here. All right, so we have all of our microphones on. We have the front-facing, the back-facing, the side microphones. We have it on stereo. And so what we're going to do is kind of listen to how the environment sounds, because this is great for environment. So let's have a listen. We've got a lot of birds and stuff going on, so let's take a listen to what we got. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take this up a notch and we're going to compare it to some binaural microphones that I'll set up here in a second so you can see how that sounds. Now that's super high end, so we're really comparing apples to oranges here, but the idea here is to kind of give you an idea how good the sound here is on the Osmo Pocket 3. So the first microphone I'm going to have set up is the DPA microphones. This is the 4560. These are binaural microphones. The way a binaural microphone works is that there's microphones that actually sit in your ears. These aren't headphones, these are microphones. And they actually sit in your ears. And they use the ears just like we naturally would use our ears to collect sound, right? The sound comes in, it funnels down into our ears. This also makes the microphone stay that exact distance apart, right? So these microphones are the same distance apart as our ears. So when we record in this kind of stereo, it actually sounds a lot more like stereo that we would listen to. Microphones aren't too far away. They're not too close. They're at the actual spot that we would want to listen at. So let's take a listen to see how this sets up. Now, this is not a cheap rig by any stretch of the imagination. These are, I think these are about $1,200, $1,400 for the microphones. And then, of course, you have to have a recorder. This is the Premix by Sound Devices, Premix 3. It's a 32-bit recorder, pretty high-end stuff, not something everybody's going to want to run out and get. And when we compare the sound, you're going to say, okay, well, how does this compare to about $2,500 worth of sound equipment compared to what the Osmo works with? So let's give it a go, see how it sounds. Okay, we're recording off the Osmo Pocket 3 with all the microphones running, recording in stereo, and we're also recording on the binaural microphones. So I'm going to show you how these sound and we'll compare them. Let's just take a listen to see what we have here. I think we've got a woodpecker in the trees over there making some rattle, so let's hear. I think that was a pretty interesting comparison between the stock microphones that come included with the Osmo Pocket 3 versus the high-end binaural microphones that would cost you, say, an additional $2,500 if you wanted to go in that direction. Let me know in the comments what you think about the sound that you can get out of the Osmo Pocket 3. Or if you have suggestions of how we can all get better sound from the Osmo, put that in the comments as well. As always, if you like this kind of content, hit the like button, subscribe, and ring the little bell to be reminded of my next video. Thanks for watching. See you next time.